Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is the International Dynasty Download. I am your host, Delftdad. Today is the very first episode ever of the International Dynasty Download. This will be a quick hit 10-minute show recapping the happenings in the International Dynasty League. I plan to do this as long as I possibly can. It's always been a sort of creative endeavor of mine to try and have some sort of podcast related to fantasy football. So why not start small and reasonable? Today we'll be going through the background of this league, who we are, and what the history is so far. And there's quite a bit to go through. And then throughout the off season, I'll be monitoring our trades, monitoring our roster moves, taking a look at deep dives on each individual roster, giving my thoughts and opinions on each one, following the NFL as it goes through and maybe some potential impacts on the league itself. And then in season, my goal is to do weekly episodes recapping what has happened in the previous week and some of the impacts, some of the trades that have gone through, see if we can figure out who's going to be the champion and who's going to get that 101 each year. So without any further ado, let's dive in to our very first segment. I am talking about the history of the league. This is the Dynasty Download. So this league, to give you guys some background, started way back in 2019, pre-COVID, before the world exploded. And the goal of this league, it literally was 3 guys at Iowa State, myself included. We were going to college, enjoying our lives, longing for that dynasty league to scratch that itch, right? And we went online because we couldn't do it with our friends in college. They weren't really interested. So we went online, and I specifically posted on a Dynasty Football Reddit, subreddit, and told them I was looking for league mates, right? Looking for 9 people to start a Dynasty League with. And I get a response from a couple of different people, but most notably Ben, who ends up in the future becoming our commissioner, and says, hey, me and my 2 brothers, we are also looking for a Dynasty League. We're also looking to do this. And it just so happens that him and his 2 brothers, well, they are from England, right? One of them, I think Ben, currently lives in Latvia, I want to say. But lives in Eastern Europe somewhere. And then the other 2 gents, one's moved now to Canada, and then the other is still in England, I believe. But it is kind of entertaining that the first people that we get for Dynasty football, American football, is 3 English lads. We then had I think one more message that was sent to me, and then Ben also had already been trying to look around and trying to get people into a Dynasty League. So we ended up with about a full roster of 12 people by the end of it, and all of whom have different groupings, right? So I think there's like 4 different groups, 4 different connections that we've made throughout this league, 4 different groups of 3, and all of us just trusting strangers on the internet. We even wanted a buy-in. It's a pretty hefty buy-in for this league. And, well, actually, that's not true. It's not a very hefty buy-in for this league. But it was a fairly decent amount of money, at least for college students, to be sending to internet strangers. But we went ahead with the startup draft. Everybody kept up with their draft. Nobody had any issues. We went ahead with our rookie draft that same year. We started out, and so far, I think 4 years later, 5 years later, we have had one person who has left and one person who is replaced them. So all in all, this has been a really incredibly successful league. I've been very happy to be a part of it. So we formed, quite nicely, we formed two different divisions, one of which was the North American division, and the other one is the European division, because it just so happens to be split 6 North American origin people, 6 European origin people. So it ended up being really well balanced in that manner. We have entered, just like I said, we've just finished our 5th season, so we're just entering our 5th off season. Heading into our 6th season next year. And so far we have had 4 different unique champions in 5 years. So this Dynasty League has been, I think, really well set up in terms of parity. So now a little bit of background on the actual scoring and league itself. This Dynasty League is a super flex Dynasty League. We have a quarterback slot, 2 running back slots, 2 wide receiver slots, so your base layout there. 1 tight end, no tight end premium. So base layout up until this point. We also have 2 normal flexes and a super flex. So no kicker, no defense. Quarterback scoring is 4-point touchdowns, and we are half-point PPR. So all of this roster setup has been pretty much the exact same way. We have quite a few bench spots. I don't even know how to count them. We have 3 IR spots and 4 taxi spots. Our rookie drafts consist of 4 rounds, which I know is pretty unique. The 2-0-1, or the first pick of the second round, is chosen by the winner of the consolation bracket. So the best of the worst, so to speak. And then the 101 and the first round and all the other draft picks is chosen by worst record, with the tiebreaker being least amount of points. So obviously there are potential league changes each and every year, but that's been our layout. I don't think we've had any major changes throughout the years. One of the things that we are considering this offseason is switching from having the tiebreaker be total points 4 to being max points 4 for the 101 and the draft seeding. Just because that has caused some controversy over start-sit decisions, whether or not taxi squad players are considered in those start-sit decisions, etc. So that has been our league setup. And in that time, there have been a couple of dominant teams and then a couple of not so dominant teams. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce some of those right now. The champions in 2019, we had Dom. In 2020, we had Joe Mack. In 2021, we had me, Delftdad. And then in 2022 and 2023, we had our first back-to-back champion in Great Gatsby. I will say this, Gatsby was very aggressive in the first few years, got a lot of talent early on, and has been then very successful in flipping that talent for youth to maintain his sort of grip on the top spots in the league. He is 51-17 throughout these 5 years for a 75% win percentage. Absolutely crazy amount. He leads the league in points for by almost 600 at this point. Domination. Followed by Joe Mack and Morgan are the next 2. So to give you an idea of how dominant Gatsby has been, there are only 2 people who are above 50% win rate, and that is Joe Mack and Gatsby. Everyone else has a below 50% win rate. That is pretty impressive. The bottom 4 teams are all tied for the worst record. 29-39 is the bottom 4 teams. That's Dom, who won the first year, myself, who won the 3rd year, and then Corsand and No Ciento, who are 2 of the Iowa State boys. So, needless to say, the bottom 3 teams, all being from the same area and all being from the same original friend group, is a little bit embarrassing. But we're hoping to turn it around. And, of course, we have the top 10 all-time weekly high scores. I just want to highlight this because it's very entertaining to me. We're running out of time here. 8 of the top 10 scores have all been scored by Great Gatsby. So truly an impressive streak of domination that we have seen from the Gatsby himself. So that's a little bit of background about our league. I want to keep these relatively short so that way they're easy to digest. Next week, we are going to dive in to each individual team starting next week, and we'll go on from there. And each individual team I will give a grade to. I will give my thoughts on where they're at and what they can do. And then I will kind of give some recommended moves that I think are going to happen or I think should happen, and try and dissect sort of the future of each roster. So it should be a lot of fun. So thank you for joining me. I really do appreciate it. If you did enjoy this, please do like and subscribe on whatever platform you happen to be listening to. And without any further ado, this is the Mad Lad Delftdad signing off.